Today we're going to be digging into Hebrews chapter 11, verses 24 through 25. By faith, Moses, when he is grown up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to be mistreated with the people of God. You see, when Moses was turning 80, he had to be at this point in his life where he was reflecting on everything that he had done. He was reaching the end and he had to be focusing on all the different mistakes and all the different good things that had happened to him in his life. And it leads us to wonder, what would he have reflected on? Would he have sat and focused and pondered that him getting rescued out of the Jordan River and being brought into the Pharaoh's household? Would he have thought about the luxuries of the palace and missed the comforts of living underneath the Pharaoh? Or would he have even regretted the 40 years he spent away from his people? You see, because the first 40 years of his life, he lived in the palace underneath the Pharaoh. And while we don't know too much about that time, we can look and imagine and guess and see that he probably had the finest education. He had military training, was probably a leader in the army. He was afforded all of these luxuries. He knew about hieroglyphics, he knew about the arts and sciences, and he studied religion. He had all these different comfortable things until he threw all of it away in a fit of anger. And we have to look at the next 40 years, the second 40 years of his life, and think about what he pondered then. Did he think about that situation, throwing all of it away? Because as a boy, he had to have known that his kin, his family, his mother, his brother, his sister, all of them were slaves to the Egyptians. We have to think, what did he ponder in those years? You see, Moses had known that, and one day he decided to go out amongst the people. He decided to go and seek out his people and be amongst them. And as he was doing that, he saw one of his people being persecuted by an Egyptian guard. Now Moses was enraged by this, and he decided to take action. What he did was he waited and he looked around, and we know this, that he didn't want to be seen because he looked around. It says in the Bible, he looked around, and once no one was there, he killed the persecutor. And that mustn't have been hard for Moses because he had this military training. He probably knew what to do, and it's probably very easy for him. But I really want to focus on that decision that Moses made. You see, in that very instant, Moses decided to throw everything away, all the luxuries that he was afforded, being in the Pharaoh's house, being probably next in line for the throne. He threw all of that away, and he made the decision to stand with the persecuted rather than the persecutors. Now, as you ponder these thoughts, a couple questions that I want you to think about are this. Would you make that same decision to stand with those of God's people that are being persecuted today? And if you did, what would that look like? What sort of plans and dreams would you might have to set aside to stand with those people, just like Moses did when he set aside the plans of the throne and the comforts and the luxury of the palace to stand with the persecuted?